When you think of homelessness, what do you think of? Unfortunate, despair, criminal, mentally unstable? You think it's their problem, and that it isn't something that applies to us at all. There are a lot of people that end up homeless. Our children and youth in this county are just as affected as anyone else. Palm Beach County is one of the richest counties in the country, yet it ranks number 2 in the state when it comes to homeless children. Living in the shadows of all this wealth are over 4,000 homeless children and youth. Each year, more than 5,000 youth die on the street. That is an average of 13 youth dying every day. That's like Columbine happening every single day, and nobody wants to talk about it. This is the real South Florida. It's not always families sleeping on the street or up under a bridge. It's families sleeping in cars. It's students couch surfing from home to home or family to family. It's 2, 3, and sometimes 4 families living in one home to make it. Our economy and current system makes it hard, with most struggling to find a home. This targets them, makes some feel unwelcome, living in the shadow of the sun. Homelessness is a recurring problem that has many shapes and forms. For youth in the Palm Beach County area, this means that anyone is susceptible. Being homeless interferes with your life, your schoolwork, and your mental health. Sometimes it takes more than fighting to be back in a home. Sometimes you need help, but most of the times, understanding is what's required to help our youth out of these situations. Sometimes you are homeless without living on the streets. Foster care is a huge industry in Florida today, and kids in the system end up living in worse conditions. Meet Angie, who was admitted into the foster care system from a very early age.
What got me to the point in homelessness was basically being born into foster care. Basically in group homes or foster homes, they go through their own situations, their own problems, so it'd affect them in different ways. Some people would be bitter and some people would be cheerful. It was very weird, because you'll be like, why are you so happy and you're in this situation? And then it'll be like, why are you so bitter? I mean, you can't change what happened. Some foster homes weren't the best. It was a foster home I was in where they treated me like a slave. They had me go get them this and that, and if we didn't do it, they'll put us in a room with rats and bugs. It was very tormenting. Like, I've encountered a good foster home where I was staying there for a couple years, and it was great until, like, I was abused and raped, and not like rape from just random people, but your supposedly family looking at you and touching you. And it just makes your skin crawl. So where I stayed at, it was a lot of like robbing, and the neighborhood was known for like gunshots, watching people get killed in front of you, the drugs, and then the violence, and then the gangs. It's so much, and it's like you go to school and everybody's separated into their own categories. As you'll say, the Blood, the Crips, or whatever gang you want to call it. It was just so much animosity and tension. Like, everyone's not focused on their education, they're focused on their image. And that really got to me. I would say family means a lot to me. Then again, I wouldn't really know the definition of true family. My mom, as they would say on my file, because when you're in foster care, you have this big book that follows you everywhere. She wasn't the best, and I mean, at the same time, I can't hate her for what happened to me, but it hurts. But at the end of the day, it made me who I am. So I dislike for the choices that she made, but I'm grateful for her giving birth to me. I actually went to go visit her like a good maybe week or 2 weeks ago. I wanted to know why no one fought for me. Like, was I not worth it? Because growing up, I felt so unloved, so unworthy. I wanted answers, and it didn't turn out too well. It wasn't nothing like bad on my heart, but I felt like you weren't there through my rough times when I needed you. So why would I invite someone somewhere where I'm about to go over a milestone, and when I needed them, they weren't there? It was very painful, because I'm not even gonna lie. I broke down in front of like everyone, and it was so embarrassing. But I mean, I can't help the pain that was going on in the inside of me, because you'll see like kids with their parents, and it's like, bro, I don't have parents, but I made it. So I mean, at the end of the day, it was very painful, and it hurt so bad, because like, bro, I really needed my mom and my dad. Like, I wanted a relationship. Like, it didn't even have to be anything serious, but something, it would have worked. And it was just, I was so ready to go. I didn't even want to walk, to be honest. I was like, what's the point? My parents aren't here. I don't care anymore. I just wanted to get my diploma and just go. So, I mean, it's a very painful feeling. And not only not having, I didn't even have both parents there. So it really destructed me on the inside. It made so much anger in me, and it was embarrassing, because I really broke down in front of so many people, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm standing there like, I really have no one. But it really pushed me though.
Some people are one paycheck away from being homeless, or they are stuck in a situation where their job isn't enough to afford a home here. Family isn't always there for you, and people can be stuck alone on the streets. Having a roof over your head is hard to come by for some young adults who have found themselves all alone. Meet Gustavo, a young man with a unique story.
How I became homeless is by financial circumstances. I was working for a construction company. I was working them for a month. I haven't been paid at all. And because of that, I basically lost where I stayed. I try to get a contact with family to see if they can help me out, but they're all a little bit busy with their own circumstances for financial, and so it was a bit tough for me to ask for money like that. So I ended up losing my place to stay. I ended up going to Lake Worth and a place called John Prince Park, and you'll have police officers and others tell you, you can't be in the front because, it's a public park. When I first got to John Prince Park, I really didn't know what to do. I was confused. I was trying to gather as much as I possibly could. I had so much going through my mind, I had no idea what I was doing. And I've had a few problems with drugs before, so trying to stay clean as possible is probably one of the toughest things you face, especially coming to homeless, because when you're homeless, there's so much emotion that go through you, it's not easy. You face it alone, you have no one to talk to, and for some people, drugs seem like the best way to forget your problems. So it's hard because you don't want to relapse, because if you relapse, it just makes everything worse. Until there was a couple of people walking around, and they were talking about shelters. And one guy mentioned the Lewis Center up here by 45th Street, telling me that they can take me in and they can probably help me out as best as I could. So I gave them a call and I left them a voicemail. The tracker gave me a call back, and he told me that the Lewis Center had a waiting list, and he said that basically if I tried to go there now, it wouldn't do me any good. I was sleeping under the overpass bridge of I-95. I was staying there for a couple of days, and it was rough because the cars constantly going by. You get no sleep. And I've had people give me judgment just because where I was sleeping. I would have people just yell at me, get a job, or go back to rehab, or telling me that, I need to get on with my life. It's easier said than done. It was tough because I had that, and they didn't know what I was going through.
Right.
And I'm currently just staying at the St. Anne's place.
Okay.
And they don't take you in, but they shower you, they give you clothes. If you want to have mail there, they can set up a mailing address there for you, so if anything comes, I can pick up mail. But basically everyone out there just stays outside.
Right.
So, you know, it's a little bit more of like a little community there, and everyone looks out for one another. So it's a lot easier compared to from just Lake Worth, where it's almost everyone is on their own. Compared to here, it's everyone looks out for you.
When we see someone homeless in our area, we have the same story in our mind of how they can't find a job or were addicted to drugs. We label them as outcasts in the society, dehumanizing the nature of being homeless. It's more common to be without a home than you might think, and all circumstances drive people to lack a roof over their heads. Many homeless are in a complicated situation that has resulted from their circumstances and environment. Meet Denisha. Her circumstances have led her down her own path.
My daddy, well, not my daddy, my sperm donor was incarcerated for 16 years. He robbed an FBI agent, so he was incarcerated for 16 years. My mother, she claims that she was distraught by me being taken away from her and them terminating her parental rights, so she eventually took off on drugs. Yeah, my aunt adopted me, which is my mom's sister. She adopted me, but she was one of those love-lost people, so, you know, any guy that was like, oh, I love you, that's what she was at. I'm not gonna lie, she did her best to raise me, and, you know, like, I use her tactics as raising my child too, you know, because she was a very good influence on me. And, you know, I was just that. I tried to make contact with my father once he got out of prison, but it didn't work out. And, you know, my mother, she was wherever her boyfriend was, that's what she was. So I couldn't call on nobody else but God. Everything started off good when I was in foster care, in all honesty. When I turned 18, that was the real struggle because I hadn't graduated and I was focused on living my own life because I thought I knew everything. And without an education, it's terrible. It's like trying to find jobs and especially trying to get housed because I didn't know that you had to make at least 2 to 3 times what you're making in order to qualify for a place. I was thinking it was all, you know, I'm gonna go look for an apartment, you know, I'm working, it's easy, you know? But it's nothing like that. It's a complete mirage. I ended up getting back in contact with foster care. I got in contact with my caseworker, you know, got back in school. Still hadn't graduated at the time, but they did assist me with getting my own place. I was young, so everything was based off of, you know, friends, how they felt about me, and I didn't take life as serious as I should at a young age. So, you know, I was partying and I was selling dope, I was selling all type of drugs, you know, anything to keep money in my pockets. But it didn't work out that way. I got caught up in a lot of stuff with guns. I ended up going to jail for a while. Bouncing back and forth from Palm Beach to Belgrade for 8 months almost. And my turning point was when I went in confinement. I got into a fight when I was incarcerated. And I was in the hole for like 30 days. And like I was just sitting there, you know, like praying and talking to God, you know, and I was like, you know, I really want to get it right. You know, I don't want to be who my parents are. I don't want to be like my mother and my father or anybody else in my family who wasn't successful. I don't want to be like that. And I was like, what is it going to take? You know, I don't want to be that example of getting shot 7, 8 times, paralyzed, sitting in a wheelchair the rest of my life. Like, I got enough issues up here, you know what I'm saying? I don't need physical issues too, you know. And then I got out on probation. After that, I just been trying to stay away from that side of the tracks. And it was hard because I didn't have no one I could depend on. You know, growing up in foster care, I didn't really know my family like that. I was homeless about a year, but, you know, like pillow to posting, I always tried to make sure I had somewhere to stay. It was even a point I was sleeping in the back of my homeboy's van. Like, and the back windows were shot out of it because at the time I was living in Firehouse right here in Rivera. And there was a war between Monroe Heights and Firehouse. So, you know, like every day there was constantly like shooting. And, like one night I was sleeping in the back of the car and like the bullet went flying through the window. But like I thank God I was sleeping because, you know, had I been, you know, up trying to be nosy, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. Right. But yeah, like I was homeless about a year, you know. dating different girls because I ain't had nowhere to stay, and just, just really out there. Out there. You have different definitions of out there. So you got some people who work and still sell their traditional drugs, and then you got some people who have absolutely no option, where there's no education, so they don't qualify for a high-paying job, or if they have a terrible background, which means they can't get a good job. So the only other thing to do is sell drugs, pimp, or in some female cases, prostitute, steal, whatever you have to do to survive. But my thing is, it's all about what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, because, if you're doing it to feed your kids, that's one thing, but if you're just doing it to be, to have some weed to smoke for the night, I don't agree with that. But that's basically like what it is, how they said in the streets, you get in there how you live, and it's different because, it's not, it is about race, but it's not about race. The majority of the Caucasian people, they already have their life pretty much set for them. So, daddy already got millions and billions, mama got millions and billions, great-grandparents. So, they really don't have to do nothing but go to school, and not even if they don't want to. But, in the African-American community, it's completely different, because you grow up watching your parents not have nothing. So the average African-American child looks, especially like mom or dad, whoever showed you the most love, they're gonna be like, man, look, I don't want my mom, I want to see my mom struggling like that. Like, I'm old enough now, I can make it happen now. But they don't think to, let me finish school, so I can do this the right way. They take the wrong way about it, which is how they end up getting caught back up inside the system, and it starts all the way over again. It's the same cycle all over again until somebody takes a different road to break it,
Almost 60,000 families with children are homeless on any given night in the United States, according to the 2017 federal point-in-time count. Nationally, that means 7.4 out of every 10,000 families are homeless. The first step that we can all take is to see the homeless as human. There are plenty of youth that deal with this problem every day and just need a chance to tell their story. They go through issues that most of us can only imagine and are mistreated and misunderstood.
We were homeless time and time again, got evicted and evicted.
Calling my friends up, hey, can I sleep at your house? Over time, it just got worse. Nothing else left to do. No friends, no family, nothing.
Your whole mindset for that day that you can stay over their house is like, I don't have somewhere to go tomorrow. Right. So, it's scary.
I can't change what happened to me, but I can allow it to affect me in a positive way.
You just keep your head up. Just take it one day at a time. That's how I see it.
Seeing the homeless as human helps us accept this problem and learn how to treat it better than we have been. Pushing it away isn't going to help, and neither is empty promises and false information. Helping these homeless requires reaching out a hand and coming from a place of understanding. These are what the youth need. Multiple organizations are taking a step to fix this issue. Vida Nova, a place for homeless youth that have aged out of foster care and are between the ages of 18 to 24 that need guidance for becoming productive citizens in our county.
Vida Nova has helped me beyond measures, with the emotional support, physical support, talking, being there to listen.
Vida Nova can get you in probably the Luna Center or a shelter, anywhere.
Hannah's home houses women that need help, are homeless, and struggling.
And then I came to Hannah's home. I got clean and treatment 6 months. They just kept me there. That was the first sign of hope I had.
So I finally got on my phone. I'm like, I gotta do something. Pregnant. So I see Hannah's home. I called that night. Our founder, Miss Carol, answered the phone. I'm homeless. I don't have anywhere to go. It was pouring down rain that day. I was like, I'm rain. I haven't ate. And then she was like, come right now. Just come right now. Just come. And Miss Betty's who I saw when I walked in, and she just gave me a hug, and I just broke down.
St. Anne's Place addresses the issue of homeless hygiene. They give the homeless a place to shower and find basic toiletries to make themselves feel better.
One thing about working here is you see everything. You see the real side of it here. Most of the people that come to us are desperate, and you have to remember that. This is probably the lowest point of homelessness. They're sleeping either in their cars, in the parks, or right alongside our building on the street. So these services are really needed to them. They really need them. The other thing is, it's amazing to watch someone go into the shower and come out, because they'll come out a whole different person with a whole different attitude.
One shower.
One shower.
The Lord's Place is a homeless organization that also works with homeless families to try and get them off the streets and living on their own. Understanding people and their struggles, no matter how old they are, can bring us one step closer to helping out the people in our communities. These organizations are just the beginning of trying to help the homeless here in Palm Beach County. We should work together to make these youth feel less unwelcome.